And welcome back. We are getting ready to start the morning, right, of course, with our first segment. Ocean Day is actually here with us. Oceana will be celebrating Ocean Day, World Ocean Day actually, under the theme Oceans, Our Future. In with us this morning is none other than, and you would never hear about Oceana, and this lady is not there, Janelle Chanona, who is the Vice President of Oceana Belize. Alyssa Carnegie.
Yes.
I got it. Who's actually the Communications Director at Oceana Belize, and Jacinto Gomez, who is actually the Outreach Program Director. Ladies, good morning. It's so nice to see you, and welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning, Belize.
We are looking forward to it. We hear so much about Oceana, and of course, we would want to know about World Ocean Day. But before we get into that, a lot of people have been hearing about Oceana. Talk to us about Oceana, some of the work that Oceana has been doing.
So the best way to describe Oceana is an advocate for the oceans. We depend, first of all, 71% of the planet are the oceans. That represents trillions of dollars in economic benefit for the world. So we advocate for sustainable policies that are incorporated and implemented by national governments. So we work in about 15 different countries right now.
Wow.
And we, all our teams in all the different countries are from that country. So Oceana in Belize is a fully Belizean team, and we're working to ensure the continued benefit of Belizeans by their shared natural resources. And I really wish we could take credit for World Oceans Day, but it's a global celebration. And the theme is chosen every year in terms of what the major challenges are. We know that the oceans have a lot impacting it right now, but we also recognize that still there's so much worth fighting for. And of course, in Belize, we're proud to be one of the organizations working towards sustainable policies for our marine assets. And that's why we're happy to commemorate this day.
Actually, we're really glad that you say that. Everyone talks about Oceana or thinks about Oceana so frequently, and that's exactly the point, because the oceans are so important. Although we take this day out to really remember and think about, our responsibilities to protecting it, it's something that we, it's more than a hashtag for us. It's something that we look at every day, and we're glad that people recognize that and are part of that too. So.
As people who live along the coast primarily, I think we don't necessarily take into consideration the contribution that it has to our life. And I know that is a part of what is happening in terms of natural resource management, looking at the financial value so that perhaps you can be able to have a better understanding. If we were to talk about what our ocean, our coastal communities provide for us as a country, how would you value it?
So, great question. Number one, we can share that there is a study that was already done by the World Resources Institute. It needs updating because that number has probably gone up, but conservatively, they estimated that the Belize Barrier Reef, in terms of goods and services for tourism, fishing, and coastal shoreline protection, I know a lot of people are thinking about the reef last night in Abayama, to break those waves, and the reefs absorb more than 90% of wave action, so that's critical shoreline protection. So we're talking conservatively $1 billion every year. And I say conservatively more than once because that's on the lower scale of things. When you get into the dependence of coastal communities in Belize, you also have to think that 60% of our population are on the coastlines. You think about the commercial capital being on the coastline. Some people want to tell you it's below the sea level, but you're safe in saying it's on the coastline. So it's really significant for a country like Belize. We have so much going on in such a tight geographical space, and that's also why it's so critical to approach these projects, whether it's tourism related or industry related, from that perspective, because at the end of the day, everything here, we kind of joke about it, touch one, touch all, but in a way, what happens, no matter what you do in whatever part of the country, it has an impact, it has a repercussion, it has a consequence in another part of the country. So it's critical that we value and include intangibles like cultural value, being able for, I was in the water yesterday to eat a mango at sea, and it's one of those priceless things, because that's also significant that we can go out, we can relax, we can enjoy, we can, catching a fish and frying at the same time. You know, it's
Dive
really
for conch and make ceviche on the boat.
exactly right. Swally lime, you're gone clear. I mean,
When it's in season.
In season.
Yes.
Yes.
And it measures
It is
up.
right now.
but you know, it's really one of those things that you really, you know, that is, if you think about it, you just have to watch 10 minutes of TV. Those are the images that the airlines are using to get people to come here. Those are the images real estate companies are using to get people to retire here. And those are the things that we pay testament to every time we say, you know, wealth untold in our national anthem.
Yeah.
And we really have to realize that there's a value to that, and we have to take our birthright seriously, because if we don't take it seriously, then anybody can come in and say, oh, you don't really need that. All right, okay, I work with that. And then when it's all destroyed, they move on to the next area of interest. And where do we move to?
Now, outside of the celebration of World Oceans Day, obviously as a part of your mandate, you keep on working within coastal communities. Let's talk about some of the ongoing projects that you have currently happening.
Definitely. So we have our field representative program, and we have that program in different districts countrywide. So we are recently down in the north in villages like Copperbank, Chanona, Sartaneja, you know, going house to house, talking to the community members and just letting them know, you know, lobster season hasn't opened yet. So luckily we were able to speak to a lot of the fishermen about our campaigns, and it's really good to get that first-hand experience from them and to see them really understand, you know, how these resources, how they're dependent on them. They get it completely, and you know, they're willing to stand up, make their voices heard on issues, sometimes controversial, but you know, issues that they know they have to make their voices heard on because they depend on these resources. So it's really good, you know, to get that first-hand experience. With the field rep program and in commemoration of World Oceans Day, we're also carrying out activities countrywide. So in San Pedro on Saturday, we'll be having a reef cleanup. So the community will be meeting at Chucks and Robbie's, and they'll take out kayaks, you know, to the reef, where they'll swim the reef, snorkel the reef, and pick up anything they find, you know, glass, garbage, plastics, and then they'll compile all of that at the Central Park. So that's one activity and the San Pedranos are always great with cleanups. I mean, they do a beach cleanup every Saturday. The Phoenix spearheads a beach cleanup. So that community has been so good. And this year, World Oceans Day is being celebrated with a focus on plastic solutions, so solutions to plastic pollution. And so that's really why we're trying to focus and gear towards that, you know, emphasis. In Corozal, we're hosting a art exhibition. So tomorrow, actually, the winners of that will be announced, and the art pieces will be displayed at the Corozal House of Culture. And these art pieces should be made of 85% recycled material, so marine debris. And this is a smaller version of what we recently did at the Mexican Institute during Reef Week, which was amazing. I mean, if you didn't get a chance to go visit,
I did.
We have a album on Facebook where you can check out some of those pieces. Just
that
creativity.
Fish. I mean, that's like the one piece that stands out to me. The one made out of plastic bottles. The exhibit was entitled Lone Wrasse, a great way to get attention, and it is actually a fish.
It is a
Yes.
fish.
Wrasse is a fish.
I did.
I love people's faces when we say Lone Wrasse. But yeah, that same concept and really the creativity that goes behind creating those art pieces. I'm not that creative, so when I see a piece come to life, and it's the plastic that would live forever in the sea and in the oceans now lives in an art piece. So that concept is just really great. As well as doing, you know, presentations at schools, information fairs, having booths, inviting the community to participate. I mean, like Alyssa said today, World Oceans Day should be celebrated every day in Belize because we know how much we are dependent on our marine resources.
Definitely one of the biggest boasts for a country, especially ours, Belize. We've got the second largest,
largest
barrier reef in the world, you know.
See, I skipped the second. Let's go longest living.
The longest living, yes, barrier reef in the world. So we've got a lot to boast on.
Yes.
The theme rides with it perfectly. Our ocean, our future. Do you think that we're doing enough, especially being that Oceana have been advocating you shouldn't throw anything in the water, because especially when it comes to plastic, this is what the turtles will feel is the jellyfish, and they choke and die. So do you think that we're taking heed of it as a public, as a Belizean public? Are we taking heed? Are we doing enough?
I think definitely, a big part of advocacy is talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love talking to people because, as Jas says, when you're in the communities, you're able to see eye to eye the women who are waiting for weeks for their husbands, their brothers, their sons to come home safely. You're talking to the women who are using parts of the lionfish to create their own entrepreneurial opportunities. You're talking to the chefs in the kitchen who are using alternative products than, trying to take only chance on the side, pass on out a season product. You're talking to the hoteliers who, love to see their tourists come in excited from a day at the reef and tell you what they saw and show you their selfies. That's the kind of emotional connection to these resources that really comes into fore. And we were talking about a great scientific article that's talking about, as much as you can throw numbers and science at people, it's really about that emotional connection, because we protect what we love, and we know that here more than ever, because, as you said, we grow up, culturally in so many ways connected to the sea. I read one of those like Facebook quizzes things from a couple of my friends, and so many of them, when they think about, Easter time or summertime, it's going to the water,
3-day weekend.
Exactly. It's, we are drawn to the sea, and it really feels like you're going home there. You're underwater, you're listening to that static, and all of a sudden all the chaos and stress of your life just kind of seems manageable, and that's you talk about the value, you talk about what the sense is, and I think what really gives me hope, and without hope you really can't do anything, but what gives us hope is this growing consciousness of that connection in so many ways, because the decisions that we're making today are not going to impact us 50 years later. They're impacting us tomorrow. This week, so many of our officials and our colleagues are in the New York area talking about how much ownership is being placed in the hands of fishers, because they know that that type of management regime spells sustainability, and putting that ownership in their hands means that they will take care of it because it's theirs, and they will benefit from it. It's a golden goose. It's taking care of what is taking care of you, and that is insurmountable. So, to bring it home to one of our campaigns, when we hear that we're still considering offshore oil, when we see that it's still impacting our status on the World Heritage Site list, it's really critical that we're all talking about this, and this is what we're driving for: transparency, conversation, meaningful consultation, because the decisions made in the corridors of power have impact on the beach, on the coast, at the quay today. We really need to nail that home, that if you are not part of that conversation, if you're not standing up for what you believe in, we will fall by the wayside. And there's so many alternatives out there, and we want to stimulate that kind of conversation. We know, if you've been outside the last couple days, this heat has been just ridiculous. It's really, why are we not talking about exciting solar developments? There's so many countries in the world looking at that. Germany, Costa Rica, so many different approaches to this, and we, I swear, we small, but we know weak. We say small but kakatari. We just have to apply ourselves, and you see it in our people in sports, you see it in our people in academics. We saw the excellent performance from our PSE students this week. We just need to apply ourselves, and man, we could be trailblazers.
I love what you said in terms of building connections, because that's really the way that you can get people to move towards taking action. Looking at one specific challenge that we face, which is your focus for Oceans Day, which is pollution. We love being by the seaside. We love being on the islands, whether you're at BTL Park in Belize City or you're on Front Street in PG. There's just something that draws us there. But we still haven't made the connection that our personal impact does play a role in what happens to the oceans. How do we, and I say we because a lot of times people put the responsibility solely on the conservation societies, but how do we move to the point where we build that connection, that just my simple plastic bottle that I leave at the seaside has an impact? How do we start to make that connection?
I think it's consistency, to be
Yeah.
honest, and constantly being like reaffirming that message, not only through video and material and things that the conservation community puts out, but I think through personal behavior. And I think one of the big things that we've seen, and to Janelle, to the testament, I think, is that we've seen so many people take this on themselves, their initiative, making a difference, the little how they can, in whatever way they can, in their special fields, culinary, if it's arts and crafts, whatever it is, they're doing it, and they're trying to make a difference as small as it is, and that's all important. And I think some people, once they see that, they begin to realize, oh, I have things to do. I can personally share is that, even with me, I have a son, he's 10, but I've been in this for a while. And just even going and saying, no, don't throw this away, don't do that. He tells his friends the same things. Or, when we're out at Keycocker for Easter, I'll have his uncle take things out of the water, and then he realizes 5 minutes later he's doing a beach cleanup, So it's I think, consistency and constantly reaffirming that messages, not only through, the social space and through media, but also through personal action and behavior, and all of us seeing that it is a personal responsibility, but it is also a challenge. That's why I think the emotional narrative is so important, because you can throw science at someone, you can let them know that, hey, every second breath we take comes from the ocean, you can tell them that we need it to live, and that still won't be enough. There's this talk about, if the trees gave off Wi-Fi signals, we'd be planting it everywhere. It's only that we need the oxygen they give off to breathe, It's the same with the ocean. To draw that parallel, I think that, it's true.
John is
That one really connected with
everybody, you'd see everybody out there, everybody out there planting those trees.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of messaging, but it's building those connections. And I think, even though we do it as a part of our organizations, I think, I feel proud in saying that we all do this individually as well, trying to expose our friends and family, and it starts at home, to these resources, getting them immersed, having them enjoy it and see it. I think there's nothing that can take that away.
What you mentioned a while ago really touches me. Reason being is because we are so into the technology, and to us Wi-Fi now is everything.
It's life.
But indeed, what if trees would actually give off Wi-Fi? What would happen then? But in sticking with the theme, our oceans, our future, you did mention that 61% of the country is actually on the coast. Back in the day, the population. Back in the day, we didn't have ID water, dollar water, 150 water. And it was actually clean then. What's the battle like right now that we're finding all the ID waters and all these plastic? Because people have to take care of the particular area that they are. What is that like for Oceana, having to roll this out into these communities, knowing that our ocean, our future?
And that's a great point in terms of the water resource, because as Marlene is saying, it's connection, and as you are saying, it's impact. So even just now on the News International, I was seeing where several lakes, people are being advised that they can't go into the lake because it's actually acidic. And I just thought, rue the day that would ever be the news in Belize. But then when you think about it, you look at how many water sources are less than what we remember them to be, and that's in our lifetimes. We are not old people or older persons. So we can be testament that in the last 30 years, things have changed dramatically. But that is where that ownership comes in, and that's why when we do these activities like the beach cleanups, when we show people, this is a drain that leads directly to the sea, or this is a river that flows directly into this tributary that then gets into the sea, or vice versa, it's really important for us to show that line of sight, because I swear sometimes you put your garbage outside on the street side, and all of a sudden you can walk past that bag for the next 6 months and people want to act like it's not there. All your business could do that road after the dog done it, and we would not, and we really have to make that connection, and it is a struggle, as Alyssa says, it is being consistent, but it's really emphasizing at every juncture that everything you do has an impact, and we have to make sure that we can tell people, you see that video with when they're taking the straw out of the turtle's nose, that could have been a straw that you threw away, or that could have been a plastic bag that turtle ate because he thought it was a jellyfish, whatever it is that moves you. But we have to realize that there are things that we can do relatively easy. Reducing is a big part of the push right now, because it's about the source. As much as we love doing beach cleanups, we have to look at the root causes. And there's so many initiatives underway right now to, especially single use. So it's, the same way you remember for carry a bag that Sam's and Chetamal, take it to Brody's, take it to Publix, take it to your neighborhood grocer, so that you're not coming back with those single use plastics. Try to think of, as Alyssa said, little things that you can do every day and be consistent about, because as less of it is as it is, it's better. I remember through, in my former life when they were talking about the life of even the landfill, and now we're looking at that life possibly being minimized or decreased because we're actually increasing the amount of garbage that we're generating. So it's real issues. 10 years ago, desertification, the possible impact of deserts in Belize was like unheard of. They watch you like you got 6 eyes. But when you look at what farmers are going through in terms of droughts, it's really right before our eyes. We can see, we might not all know the terms and the lingo, but we can see the impacts that our climate is changing, our world is changing.
Or seasons are so unpredictable now, or poor farmers, I think, are really trying to keep up with it. And you are absolutely right. It's simply being able to help to connect the messages together. So let's talk about what your message is today on Oceans Day 2017. You'll be having a press conference as well. So let's get into that.
For me, I think definitely it's standing up. Because if we do not get involved in this conversation, then realize that whether you say something or you don't, you will be impacted. So it's really about getting involved, find out your information. You don't have to trust me, but use me to get your searches started on Google or wherever your favorite source of information is. But read up, get involved, take action, because it's really down to us. If not us, then who? Nobody's going to come and save this for us. So we really need to take our responsibility for ourselves, because as I said, this is not necessarily about the next generation. They're going to expect us to answer to what we fail to do, but realize that we ourselves are going to be feeling the impacts of the decisions we make. So just act.
I actually think that to me, honest, is the message. I mean, Janelle referenced, the Ocean Conference happening in New York, earlier this week. And it's really interesting because there's so much that's being celebrated. There's so much that, we're trailblazing in and that we're doing. And it's great. But a lot of that too is also, hard pressed to say, is also on paper and not necessarily, playing out as we want to in practice for different reasons and many challenges. And I think that's one of the things that we need to realize is, we need to stand up. Standing up doesn't mean that we have to necessarily be taking an adversarial position. It may mean that at times with people who should be looking out and caring for our oceans and our best interest, the public's best interest. At the same time too, that could be with someone, standing up to someone and saying, don't use that straw. Don't use that single-use plastic. Those little recuerdos that you use at these christenings and things like that. I can't tell you how many of those we found on beach cleanups from all over the place. And there's just this idea of making that connection, and I think just seeing it as a larger call to say, we really do need to stand up. We need to say something and not be intimidated to do so. And I think really to put into practice what we all celebrate in theory. I think is the big thing, and that's why I think beyond standing up and saying yes, no oil, which is great, and that's exactly what we should be saying. It's also looking at how we can stand up in our individual ways, and also holding people accountable to things that we've committed to internationally and nationally.
But what if Belizeans are taking heed, and what if the debris that we're actually getting here on our shores are not actually from here? So things might be working in the favor that we want, but while our country is doing enough to get rid of the garbage and from our ocean lines, then things might just be coming in.
That would be I mean, that's definitely something that we could anticipate would be next, because you're right. There's so many countries all over the world that are not being responsible. But I mean, suffice to say, we're still finding enough Belize-based items to identify.
Ocean, you see it on the corner of the street.
So with high tide, you look in the Belize River and realize that is going directly to the Caribbean.
So is today World Ocean Day?
Yes.
Happy World Ocean Day. So besides the press conference, besides the press conference, what else are we doing, Oceana, in terms of celebrating World Ocean Day?
Okay. So Jacinto.
As I mentioned earlier, we have a couple initiatives going on countrywide. The trash art exhibition, trash art exhibition in Corozal. We have the reef cleanup in San Pedro. We're doing multiple presentations at schools and countrywide as well, information booths. But as Alyssa said, it really starts with you and your individual practices, your daily routine. As Marlene as she named her photo essay so rightly, Act Now or Forever Lose Our Reef. It's really acting, standing up, for what you believe in, what we depend on as Belizeans. So we always take our Tupperware to our neighbor when we know that they cook good food. The same way we can take it, to restaurants instead of getting foam plates. Take your Tupperware when you go to a restaurant. Minimize those foam plastics. Take your thermos with your water instead of buying a plastic bottle. Take your reusable bag to the grocery. So our daily practices can really make a difference.
And just to share real quickly, the styrofoam containers, when you're on the beach cleaning that up and you go to pick up a piece of styrofoam and it like practically disintegrates, and then you have to be there like almost with a tweezer picking it up, you realize that thing never dies. It never goes away. I mean, you read it lasts 1,000 years and then some. It's probably because all the researchers, died off before they could see this thing die. But it's one of those things where we have alternatives. We really don't need that kind of material because it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anything. And they're actually making really awesome bagasse-based products. So from the sugar cane into the same style, same compartments, plates, and it's plant-based, it's plantable. An event I was at lately, the cup looked just like a regular plastic cup, but it's all plant-based material. So there's so many exciting products coming on stream.
We have the eco-friendly line in Belize. No promotion, but at least there are alternatives to the traditional plastics and styrofoams that we have been using.
Totally.
Sorry. No, I was also going to say, because I'm really excited about this. We also have some exciting PSAs coming out later today that we'll be posting on social that we're really excited, that feature some of our local talent, local ambassadors. I say ambassadors, and someone got confused and thought it was like diplomatic corps, but literally ambassadors for the ocean. That includes some of them as well, and so we're really excited to feature that.
So while Oceana is always out there trying to battle and trying to keep, because
we're lovers, John. We're lovers.
It is a battle in terms of getting the word out there that we are here to protect the ocean. We're here to protect the ocean, and we stick once again with the our oceans, our future. You guys also get to see the beauty of this country in terms of being on our oceans and going to keys and stuff like that. I got to understand now. This is a big year or so. Like you guys actually ventured off to southern Belize yesterday. It was yesterday, and did some sightseeing at one of our prestigious areas, the South, the Snake Keys.
I know that
Can
part.
you tell us about
That's personal to you.
Yes.
And I'm jealous you that you grew up with that in your personal front yard because that's. I mean, as I shared with some of our media colleagues and friends yesterday, that spot is really one of the reasons why we're totally justified in calling this place a jewel. I mean, the quality of that water, white beach. I mean, people watch me all the time. I say, no man, we only got in, where you made a playa, where you made a Cancun, and like, nah, boss, at a Belize.
And this
right
is not
home,
dredge curated. This is completely natural.
This is beautiful.
And this
That's where we should be for the show, right?
I vote for that. It's really, John, it's really one of those places that also are just as vulnerable to the types of pollution that we've been talking about this morning, the type of risks. I mean, this is in the Port Honduras Marine Reserve, which abuts the Paynes Creek National Park. Those two protected areas were two areas under threat from active oil concessions up until very recently. And you just think at the end of the day, these are places that we should be safeguarding, you know, every chance we get, every way we can. So it's really taking people out to say, okay, you may think that out of sight, out of mind, but if you know what's out there, if you can see the beauty of this place, you would know that oil does not belong anywhere near here. What we have here is priceless.
And that's why we always tell people to get out there and see it for themselves. Silky is a bit far, but we know Tide offers tours as well now if you're down south.
Yes, absolutely. But it's getting out there and getting immersed because it is changing. I mean, I unfortunately don't have the luxury of going there all the time. But it's a real treat. But from what I understand, I mean, the place has changed as well, you know, due to erosion, rising, you know, sea levels, it's getting warmer, you know, corals are bleaching, you know, there's lots of threats. And if we don't, I mean, honestly, get out there and enjoy it, recognize what we have and start to protect it and do something about it, we're going to lose it.
So, in commemoration of World Oceans Day, you have your press conference and you have your activities planned. Obviously, we can all get involved. Some suggestions to people just to do one thing differently from today forward in celebrating World Oceans Day and keeping within our team, our ocean, our future?
Minimize your single plastic use. You know, don't use a straw. Take your bags to the corner store to get your groceries. You know, take
Don't
out
litter.
Own your garbage. Own your garbage. The same way we do it when we cross the border. And I say nobody dash for nothing in the States, and I say nobody dash for nothing in Mexico. Make we do that right here at home.
Definitely.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us this morning and telling us all about the work that you have been doing and reminding us once again why this is such an important resource to all of us.
Our oceans, our future. It's as simple as that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, that view of Silk Key, that's the media tour you did yesterday. Snake Key, sorry, is actually going to be in our newscast tonight, so you can be able to get the full view then. Thank you once again. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Social Security Board ride across Belize. So stay tuned.